okay, I'm gonna have a break.
Hey everyone, I'm Uwa, I'm a 2020 medicine offer holder and welcome back to my channel. I set up this YouTube channel, a website and my Instagram page to help aspiring medics. So if you're applying to medicine, be sure to follow me on my Instagram, it's at uwaisibor.com, and subscribe to my channel for more help with your application. So here's a slight disclaimer, for my first few Ask Medic videos, I filmed all my intros and outros on the same day, so I will be wearing the same t-shirt and looking the exact same. Anyway, let's get on with it, enjoy the series. Welcome back to my second Ask a Medic video. Today we have Isabella. She's just finished her foundation year at the University of East Anglia and she's going to be answering your questions about her own experience so far. Be sure to follow Isabella on Instagram. I'll leave her name below. She posts about her med journey so far and she also does weekly medicine quizzes on her story, which are really fun to take part in. So yeah, follow her on Instagram and get involved.
Hi guys, I'm Isabella and I've just finished a foundation year at the University of East Anglia and I'll be starting year 1 in September. Hopefully I should be answering some really good questions from you guys about the application process, the kind of stuff that a foundation course entails, and just general advice and tips on being a medical student. What was the hardest and easiest part of your medical application? So for me, the hardest part was definitely my UKCAT. I struggled so much with it and I ended up not getting a great grade, which really put me off even thinking of applying, which I'm so glad I did in the end. But I just found it so difficult, and I think a lot of other medical students can agree that it's such a difficult test and you have to put in like a lot of time and effort into really mastering those questions, which I kind of played off a little bit, so therefore that automatically became my least favourite part of the application process. My most favourite part on the other hand, which I don't know if many students will agree with, but it was definitely the interview stage. I absolutely loved being interviewed. I had 2 interviews, one at Plymouth and one at UEA, and I think they went both really well. I ended up getting offers from both of them, so I guess they went well. And I just love talking to people. I love showing them the knowledge I learned and the experiences I had, so it was just really a fun experience, and I don't know, I would recommend it to you guys. But yeah, on a more serious note, like, don't be stressed out about the interview. If you like being interviewed, you're going to peak there, and that's definitely going to make you shine and get that offer. What appealed to you most about your chosen med school? So my number 1 choice was always UVA, and I knew I really wanted to go to UEA. That was for 3 main reasons. So number 1 was PBL learning. I thought PBL learning is such a cool and interesting way to learn, and I knew I was going to kind of like thrive in that environment because I like talking in groups of people. I like kind of discussing things, going like, oh, this is something we can talk about, this is something we can look up a bit more. So that was something I really enjoyed, so that was a big tick on behalf of UEA. Number 2 was the fact that they've done full body dissections. There isn't actually that many universities that still offer full body dissection, so the fact that UEA offered it was absolutely incredible, and it was a massive plus for the university. And then number 3, which was probably the most important thing for me, was early clinical exposure. So in year 1 you're literally in a clinical setting within the first 2 to 1 month of being at university, which is absolutely incredible because it's just like bam, you're straight in there. Which I just can't wait when I start in September to be able to do some of that clinical exposure. So I'm just gonna do some more questions on like the actual application process and how I got in and all that kind of stuff. How much do you think GCSEs affect your chances of getting into uni? This really depends on the university, and it's so important just to look at what universities require you to have what grades in certain GCSEs. So some of them require you to have a certain amount of A's and stuff like that, or 7s or 8s, whatever it is now. So it's just important to have a look at that, and you might get penalised if you don't meet those requirements, and you might not get an offer because of that. So it's just important to do that research. In the long run, it really doesn't make a big difference. I actually done really well in my GCSEs, so I got like 9 A stars and whatever. Like, I done pretty well. And obviously that probably did boost my chances of getting into uni, because I didn't get as good of like a UKCAT and stuff like that, and obviously just had predicted grades to go off, so it probably played a deciding factor for whether I got a place at UEA, but obviously it depends what kind of weighting other universities take. So I know lots of you probably want advice on the UKCAT, so any tips for abstract reasoning on the UKCAT? And my only tip for that is really practice as many questions as you possibly can. Maybe look at some guides to kind of point out what are the key things that you should be looking at, and yeah, just practice and practice. Timing tips. So for timing, I would say it's quite a hard one, but when you're doing your mock tests, try and have a stopwatch next to you just to be making sure that you're not taking too long, because I found that especially for verbal reasoning, I was going like double over the time I was supposed to have allocated, which obviously really kicked me up the bum when I was doing my UKCAT, because I was doing alright at home when I was practicing, but when I was doing the actual exam I was finding I couldn't read the extracts fast enough and find the information fast enough. So definitely just try doing timed practices from maybe like 2 weeks before the exam. Like that's really, you should be focusing on timing that period before the exam. So the next part is just going to be a bit about like my time at university, like dealing with stress, dealing with self-doubt and things like that. So how do you deal with self-doubt? So it's very easy to fall into this like persona at university that you're not good enough, because there's so many people out there that know more stuff than you, so many people are brighter than you, getting better grades than you and all this and that, and it's really easy just to kind of knock yourself to the ground for that, even if you're doing perfectly fine, if you're passing the subject, the modules and stuff like that. That's a really toxic kind of atmosphere to be in. So it's just, I think, important to remember that not everyone is fresh out of sixth form like you could be. Some people have done a foundation year, some people have so much more life experience than you, and it's not fair to go around comparing yourself to other people who you don't actually know their past, and you don't know how much like motivation they have to be in that kind of field. So I just think it's important just to focus on yourself and make sure that you're happy and you're passing your modules, and obviously helping people out who you see that are struggling, because one day you might be struggling as well, and you might want that person to turn around to you and be like, oh, are you alright? Like, do you want me to explain this to you or anything like that? So I think when dealing with self-doubt, it's just important to remember that. How did you balance studying with a social life during college? So honestly, I didn't actually find it that hard to balance one and the other, because I had a really good like set of friends who kind of understood what I was doing, because most of them were doing the kind of same subject as me. So like my best friend was also doing chemistry, biology and maths, so when I was studying she was studying with me, so it wasn't too difficult. I think it more became an issue when I actually started uni, because a lot of my housemates were like going out having fun, and I was like, oh, I need to kind of like sit down and like focus on my work. I think one of the biggest kind of like bummers of my foundation year was when there was like a medicine like cocktail party or something like that at Christmas, and I really wanted to go, but the next day was my chemistry exam, like my actual like summative one, and I was like, oh, I really want to go, but at the end of the day I'm at university for my education, so I just had to be like, it's a bit of a game of sacrifices, and you just need to know which ones are worth taking and which ones, oh, you can like slack off and just go have fun. And it's important to have that balance, and I think every kind of student finds it at their own rate and knows when enough's enough, or learns it the hard way, as they say. How did you know that medicine was definitely what you wanted to do over something else like paramedic or someone who just works at a hospital? So I definitely knew from day one that I wanted to go to university, and when I started sixth form I wasn't quite sure what kind of direction I'd be going into, so I was balancing between like midwifery, nursing and medicine, and it wasn't really until I kind of like had to properly sit down and decide what I wanted to do my UKCAT and what kind of application process I want to go through, that I decided that yeah, medicine is what I kind of want to do. And that just came with a lot of work experience that I done. I shadowed a bunch of like doctors and junior doctors, kind of like was able to speak to them, find out about their kind of work-life balance, the rewards of their career, the kind of leadership roles they can take, the kind of like potentials and opportunities that are provided to them throughout their career. And it just really showed me that as much as a midwife and a nurse has to give and does amazing work in a hospital, I feel like being a doctor and having that kind of very scientific kind of approach to everything, as you are the main person that like diagnoses and prescribes and all this, and you need to have a really well-rounded kind of approach to everyone. I kind of drew to that career more. So now we're going to go on to the questions that are specific to me. So is working in the care setting considered on the same basis as working in a hospital? And I would say absolutely yes. Any kind of experience that you're working with an individual or individuals is going to be a valid piece of experience to put into your personal statement or talk about in an interview. So even if you have things like retail experience or just like volunteering in a scout group or anything like that, it's going to be something that you can put in your personal statement, you can talk about in your interview, because at the end of the day you're interacting with people, you're doing problem solving, and you're using all those kind of skills that they're looking for. So it doesn't actually have to be strictly healthcare based for it to look good on your application process, as long as you're able to talk about it confidently and be able to say how the skills you learned in that are going to make you a good medical student or make you a good doctor in the future. Then it's worthwhile mentioning and it's worthwhile doing, especially now obviously with the like COVID-19, where you can't get hospital experience or you can't get clinical experience. Doing stuff like volunteering at your local like homeless shelter or something like that is definitely something I'd speak about, because at the end of the day you're helping people and you're learning how to interact with people who aren't in your normal kind of like circle of people. Have you found completing a foundation year useful? Do you feel more prepared to study medicine than you would have a year ago? Yes, definitely. The foundation programme was probably the best decision I could have made. Like, I feel so much more prepared, I feel so much more confident doing medicine now that I've just had that kind of year just to relax as well, because A-levels, they beat me up. Like, I was so done after A-levels, and I'm so glad I had this year to kind of like relax, de-stress, join some nice clubs and societies, meet some new people, and properly like sit down at university without the worry of, oh my god, I'm doing medicine as well. So I feel much more prepared, much more calm. I know the building, I know where the teaching happens, I know some of the lecturers. I've got a pretty good like baseline knowledge as well, despite the fact that some of the stuff covered last year isn't directly covered this year, and it's covered in like other years and stuff like that. I do feel like I have just a better understanding of medicine and some of the like basic facts like anatomy and stuff like that. I know how to approach it, and I can actually prepare now during this like lockdown period or during this kind of like crazy time when there's not much to do. I have access to kind of like resources that the university have provided me with, so I'm not just sitting at home doing absolutely nothing. I can actually prepare for next year, and I have a good idea of what's going to be expected of me next year. Another thing I wanted to say really is the fact that a lot of the students who I met from year one who were foundation year students, they did kind of take on this really like parental role over the actual year ones who have just joined university, because they knew where all the buildings were, as I said. Like, they knew how everything works in and out, and I'm kind of really looking forward to being able to be that person next year for some people who might be a bit more worried, or they have just joined university like fresh out of like sixth form and stuff like that. So just being able to help them out is something I'm quite really looking forward to, really. Have you done much PBL during your foundation year? If so, how did you find it? So we actually done PBL as if we were in year one, so we done it every week. It was like a 4-hour session, and we would just discuss whatever we learned in the previous week and stuff that's going to be happening next week. And I really liked it. I think it's a really nice way to learn, but the only downside is it really depends on the group of people you're with. So if you're with a group who's quite naturally quiet, it can be quite daunting to be like the only one speaking, or just like waiting in silence for someone to speak, because it does sometimes get like that, especially if it was a really tough week and you can clearly tell some people haven't prepared. So it's definitely like a really amazing way to learn, and I really enjoy learning that way. But it is very much down to the kind of people you're with and what kind of person you are, because some people absolutely hate PBL because they hate talking to other people, like hate sharing their ideas. It really depends on the individual and like what kind of person you are, and I think that's pretty much everything. What are the entry requirements for a foundation year at UEA? So from what I know, the entry requirements are BBB or ABC, and that can be in any subject. So the UEA foundation course is really good for those who maybe didn't decide to take biology or chemistry, which is required by most universities. So that's one aspect that you can like take into consideration, that even if you've done like absolutely bizarre subject that you wouldn't really relate to studying medicine, you can still apply for the foundation programme at the UEA. I can't really say much about the entry requirements for the foundation course, because I actually applied for the year one course and I was put on to the foundation course after I missed my grades. So UEA was actually really good and like kind and generous, and I'm very grateful that they allowed me to still do medicine despite the fact that I didn't quite get the grades that they needed for the standard course, which was AAA, and I ended up getting ABC, I believe. Yeah. Does the foundation year guarantee your entry into medical school? Do you have to sit the UKCAT before completing a foundation year? So yes-ish. To get into year 1 from completing a foundation year at the UEA, this is obviously different for every university, but at UEA, once you complete the foundation year, and to classify as completing it, you need to score 75% or above in like your modules as an average, and then 75% in your med module. So as I talked about, you do chemistry, biology and maths. That's changing a bit, but yeah, those are the modules you do, and you have to score 75% or above. And then medicine module, you have to score 75% or above. So once you do that, you have guaranteed access into year 1. So there's no kind of interview process. You don't have to redo UKCAT or anything like that. But when you're actually applying for your foundation year, you do need to sit the UKCAT just like you would for a standard kind of like medicine course. So that doesn't really change. So that kind of draws to an end all the questions. If you have any other questions and you want to message me personally, then you can message me on my Instagram, so @medic_Bella, which will be somewhere maybe up here. And yeah, just feel free to ever message me if you need any clarification, anything I was speaking about, or any of the questions I answered. And yeah, I just hope you find them useful or interesting or entertaining. And for those of you who are maybe like have just applied or about to apply, I hope these kind of like settled your nerves and made you a little bit less anxious and a bit more excited about joining medical school and being a medical student. Thanks for listening.
So yeah, that's it from Bella. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you found it interesting learning and knowing more about her foundation year. Also, thank you to Bella for taking part in this and answering your questions. As always, follow me on Instagram. It's @uwaisibor.com_, and look out for my Ask a Medic posts so you also can get involved. Subscribe to my channel and turn on post notifications so you don't miss out on any of the Ask a Medic uploads. And yeah, see you in the next video. Thank you guys for watching.